Welcome back to Never Enough Novels. For the first time ever, I'm going to be doing a bookshelf tour so you can get a glimpse behind the scenes and see where I keep all of the books that I love to talk about so much. At this point, I don't even know how many books I actually have in my house, but I figured for today I'm just going to highlight a few of the bookshelves that I love and the reading nooks that I've created and share some of my favorite books or books that are on my TBR as I go. I'll admit I have no sort of organization system for my books. I'm not one of those people that sorts books by genre or author or even by color. I have a few things that are part of a series together, but that's about it. So I subscribe to the idea that I just kind of know where my books are on my bookshelves for the most part. And when I get new ones or get rid of some, they just find a place wherever I can fit them. I am curious though how you all organize your bookshelves. So let me know in the comments what method you use, whether you organize things by author or color, or if you're like me and books just go wherever there's a place for them to fit. As always, make sure you hit like on this video and subscribe to my channel. I want to try and do these bookshelf videos maybe once a year to kind of give you an update and see what has changed over the past year. So if you subscribe, you'll definitely see all of these bookish videos and all of my book recommendations when they're available. Since I have a ton of books to share with you, let's get right into it. Here's my first little reading nook. As you can see, I love plants just as much as books, and this is also where my desk is in my house when I work from home, so I love having a space here that it makes me feel like I'm just surrounded by books. On the first shelf here, alongside this plant that has completely overtaken its pot, is my collection of the Anne of Green Gables books. Don't mind the layer of dust that is up there since no one can see that high. I always wanted a collection of her books. I don't even think I've read all of them, but at some point I want to go back and finish reading the series. I've definitely read the first 3 or 4 and just adore them. They're like a staple of any girl's childhood. So I love having the full collection up there. First up on this shelf is The Games Gods Play by Abigail Owen. I definitely picked this up from a local bookstore because of the sprayed edges, and I ended up listening to this on audio instead of actually reading this book, but I loved the story. It's about a human girl who gets selected as Hades champion in the Crucible, which is this competition that happens every 100 years between all of the different Greek gods. So it's got a little bit of romance between Lyra and Hades, plus a really interesting competition aspect that showcases all of the different Greek gods and their personalities. So I highly recommend this one if you like fantasy books, and particularly those about the Greek gods. Hiding behind here are just a couple of different paperbacks and random books. Well Met is one of my absolute favorites of all time. This is by Jen DeLuca, and it's a Renaissance fair romance. So I know not something that would appeal to everyone, but it was a really cute enemies to lovers book, and it's the first in a whole series that kind of takes place in the world of Renaissance fairs, which I've always just adored. So this was a really unique romance that I absolutely loved. I also have one of my absolute favorites by Jojo Moyes here. It's called The Giver of Stars. This is one of her historical fictions about the women of Kentucky who formed like the pack horse librarians, and they basically brought books to people who weren't able to get to a library or maybe weren't able to leave their house or were in really remote locations. And it was just such an incredible story about what these women accomplished in situations that were pretty much unimaginable to us today. I highly recommend that one. I feel like it's been kind of overshadowed by some of her more recent books, but that is just an excellent historical fiction story. We've also got my collection of Rebecca Yarros's books. So as you can see here, I have a bunch of different editions, including like the holiday edition of Fourth Wing with the black sprayed edges, as well as the paperback of Fourth Wing, which has the dragons on the edges as well. And then I just have 1 copy of Iron Flame, but 2 of Onyx Storm. So 1 with the deluxe edition of the regular dragons. And then I was also able to snag a copy of the Target exclusive edition with the single dragon on it as well. So I still have yet to read Onyx Storm. I'll admit that I need to actually get on that, but I read the first couple of chapters and then just kind of got lost in the story. Also on this shelf, I have Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, which is one of my all-time favorite books. It's a like sci-fi dystopian novel that is just such a fun ride through this like virtual reality world called the Oasis. Our main character is a kid who is participating in this massive competition open to anyone who is in the Oasis, and he can solve a series of puzzles or riddles and go through a series of activities to try and find this one Easter egg that was left there by the creator of this entire world. And whoever finds it first will basically gain control control over the entire oasis and all of its assets. So the whole story is how this kid and some of his friends and then these like mega corporations are going through these series of puzzles and riddles and activities to try and be the first one to find that Easter egg. So it's kind of like a video game vibe, but it also has this dystopian aspect where there's some shady stuff going on with the corporations, and then things start to happen in real life as well, so it becomes like a really dangerous, thrilling situation. But it's just really good. If you've never read it, I highly recommend it. I feel like with the return of Dungeon Crawler Carl and how many people are now into that, like this would be a good segue into Ready Player One as well. On the next shelf down is another random assortment of books. This is one that I just got recently. It's called Five Broken Blades. This is another one that I bought for the sprayed edges because they're just gorgeous. It's a fantasy about 5 assassins or killers who are tasked with now working together to try and kill the king of the land. So that sounded pretty interesting. There's also a few Christmas books of here because you can never have enough of those. Let's see, what else? A few books by some of my favorite authors like Jenny Colgan, randomly the Two Towers in there. I feel like I have the rest of that Lord of the Rings series somewhere in the house, so I'm not sure why they're not together. And then we've got a few of the books in the American Royals series. This was such a fun, like young adult kind of fantasy book. So it basically takes place in a world where America has royalty, and instead of a president we have like a king and a queen and a royal family, and the story follows a couple of different people involved in that world. So like the siblings who are going to be next in line for the throne, and then some of the people that hover around their orbit. It was just a really fun series. I actually really liked I think there were 3 books in the series. It's just kind of a fun way to see how America would be different with a royal family, and then obviously all of the drama with the like teenagers and young adults who would be involved in that. Also on the shelf, I have my TBR jar. So I've been working through this each month. If you want to check out those videos, each month I pull a few prompts from the TBR jar and then pick out books based on those prompts. I have a cute little thing here too from one of my friends that shows a little map of where I first met her, and I love that little keepsake. Over here, tucked in among my plants, is my collection of Bridgerton books from Once Upon a Book Club. So these were a special edition. I actually have all 8 books somewhere, but I think they're kind of scattered now because I could only fit so many on this shelf. But Once Upon a Book Club did these beautiful special editions with gorgeous covers that I just absolutely adore. So I had to get them. I think they might still be available if you go to onceuponabookclub.com. But I just think they're perfect for the historical setting. They did a really great job with the cover of these books. And I love that they're all slightly different variations on the same theme. So they just look so fun all together. Next up is the first of my 2 book carts. I absolutely love having these book carts to help organize my books and be able to move them around the house if needed. I kind of think of this one as my TBR book cart, so I'll generally put books that I receive from publishers or that I recently got from bookstores on here so that they're front and center and I can remember that I want to actually read these books soon. Obviously, that's not exactly a hard and fast rule though, based on some of the things you could probably see in here. There are a couple books from publishers that I'm really excited about that I got recently, like The Friendship Fling, Roll for Romance, which is a Dungeons and Dragons inspired romance book that I am dying to read, and then The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. Let's just take a moment for this cover because I absolutely adore it. Her other book, The Spell Shop, was one of my all-time favorites of last year. So this sounds like another cozy fantasy that I am just dying to read soon. It doesn't come out until July, so I'm kind of giving myself a little bit of time, but I cannot wait to get into that one, and I just adore the cover they came up with for that as well. Let's see, also on here I have some books that I got recently from bookstores like Drowning and Positively Penelope. The Striker by Anna Huang is her first sports romance, and I just adore her as an author, so this is high on my TBR as well. I also have a few little stickers that I have either made myself or purchased from other places. Having a Cricut is so nice for creating like vinyl stickers like this one, so highly recommend that if you have a Cricut of your own. Let's see. Oh, here's The Spell Shop. So this is her first book. So I do have a copy of that too, I guess. I loved the purple sprayed edges on this one. And I think The Enchanted Greenhouse, when it actually comes out, is going to have like green sprayed edges. So that will be really nice to have those two in that little collection. Down here I also have a few others that I'm meaning to get to soon, like Haunting Adeline, which is like the ultimate dark romance book that everyone recommends for people who want to get into dark romance. There's another Anna Huang here. This is her first book in her Kings of Sin series. So I loved the first couple of books in this series and I love the covers as well. So I'm going to start collecting these books over time. On the bottom are some books that are definitely older that have just been on my TBR for so long, it's probably embarrassing at this point. I want to quickly point out The Bear and the Nightingale. That's the first book in a fantasy series set in Russia that's got like a fairy tale quality, and I highly, highly recommend that entire series. I have this on here because I've been meaning to reread it because it's been, gosh, years since I first read that entire series, and it still sticks with me to this day. It is just so incredibly good, and I want to be able to go back and like savor the stories and get a chance to reread them for the second time to really like make sure I didn't miss anything the first time around, but highly recommend that whole series. There's nothing else down here that I'm like super excited to read, but in some cases you just need a place to store books, and that's kind of what this bottom shelf is serving a purpose as. Moving on, this is the next little reading nook I've created. It has a few things that I absolutely love that are perfect for cozying up with a good book, including this reading poncho that I got from Barnes & Noble. As you can see, it has little buttons, so whenever you drape it around your shoulders, you can button it closed so that it stays in place. It is absolutely phenomenal and so cozy, and I use it all the time. Also over here, I have this little card catalog side table. So I got this card catalog by itself probably from a flea market like years and years ago, maybe right out of college. And for the longest time, it was just like sitting on the floor or on like a table somewhere. And I finally decided to add legs to it to give it a little bit of height so that it serves as a side table. And I feel like it just makes the perfect addition to this little reading nook. Let's explore my second book cart next. So this one does not have any sort of theme. It is just a place to store all the random books that I don't know where else to put on my shelves. It also serves as the holder for a couple of my bookmarks. So usually all the different ones that I get from Book of the Month are in here. I don't have any fancy bookmarks anywhere, but usually I just end up using these or something else laying around in the house. I'm terrible about actually using real bookmarks. So on this shelf, like I said, it's just a few random books here or there. One of the ones I've been meaning to read forever is By a Thread by Lucy Score. I actually found this book at a little free library. I was running in my parents' neighborhood and I stopped because the one house had a little free library and I saw this was in there, and I adore Lucy Score, so I picked it up immediately. But I mean, I was in the middle of a run, so I ended up like running back to their house with a book in my hand, which just felt like such a typical thing for me to do. Of course, that was like over a year ago and I still haven't actually read the book, but I'm hoping to get to it at some point because I've heard it's really good and it's one of her standalones, so it's not even part of a series or anything, but it's kind of long. So I think that's the biggest thing that's like holding me back, but I still want to get to that soon. Also on here, I have one of my many editions of Emma by Jane Austen. I really like this cover and just the style of this edition. Emma is, I think, my favorite book by Jane Austen. It's a tough call between that and Pride and Prejudice, but I just love the friends to lovers vibes in Emma and the fact that she's always like matchmaking for other people and doesn't see what's right in front of her. We also have T.J. Klune, Somewhere Beyond the Sea. This is the second book in his House in the Cerulean Sea series. I didn't like this one quite as much as the first one, but it's still a solid read. And of course it came with the sprayed edges, so I had to buy it. This is a book that I actually just recently finished. It comes out in April. It's called The Mysterious Bakery on Rue de Paris by Evie Woods. And this is just like a quintessential, charming French romance. It's about a girl who travels to France to take a job at a bakery. She thinks it's going to be in Paris, but it ends up being in Compiègne, which is a little bit outside of the city. So it's like this smaller town and not exactly what she expected. But she discovers all sorts of things about herself while she's there and kind of gets the courage to help out this bakery and the people in this town and kind of stand up to this business that's trying to take over. It's full of amazing descriptions of baked goods, a little bit of romance, and some found family. And it's just this really cute, heartwarming story that I really enjoyed. Moving on to the next shelf here. Oh, here's The House in the Cerulean Sea. So that's the first book in the series that I mentioned. It's one of those books that I recommend to just absolutely everyone because it is so charming and full of heart, and you will fall in love with these characters. Absolutely, no question. Oh, I also found The Return of the King. So I think this is the same style as The Two Towers. I honestly should just put those together. I don't know where The Fellowship of the Ring is, though. Hopefully I have that somewhere in here. Also on this shelf, let's see, is there anything else worth noting? A few books by Jenny Colgan. Again, she's one of my all-time favorite authors, and one of those authors that I like to actually have her books because they are just really cute small town romances that take place often in like England or Scotland or Ireland. So really fun places, and it makes them always fun to go back and read again. Over here we have my first bookshelf that has some semblance of organization, at least, with a few series or authors that are grouped together. Over here is my little book of the month section. So I normally don't keep these books super long. I'll try and sell them on Pango Books once I've read them, but I still have a couple that I haven't read yet or that I particularly love and want to keep. So I love how they look all together. There's just something undeniable about having that little book of the month logo at the top that I just adore. So I try and keep at least a few of those at all times, just because I love the way they look together. Next up is one of my favorite books that I got recently, which is the painted edition of The Great Gatsby. This book is from Harper Muse, and they have done a collection of painted editions of classic books. And I just think the covers and the sprayed edges look absolutely beautiful. It's like artwork on your bookshelf. And throughout the book, there are different additional illustrations and quotes that are pulled out. So I have The Great Gatsby right now, but I'm probably planning to get a few more of these classic editions as well, just because I love how they look so much. Behind this one is my little Ken Follett selection, as well as Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series. So this is a fantasy that I recommend a lot. I've actually only ever read the first book in the series, but I want to go through and read the next two. Mistborn is just a really incredible fantasy book with a female character and a unique magic system that I absolutely loved. I also have this little collection of paper stars that I made probably a couple years ago. I use them for like Bookstagram props every once in a while. Down here, I have more Bridgerton books. So this is another edition that has a really unique cover and sprayed edges specifically for her Bridgerton collection. And then one of my most prized possessions are my collection of Sarah J. Maas books in the Court and Thorns of Roses series. So this was the first fantasy, like romantasy series that absolutely hooked me, and I finished these books so fast, and they're still some of my all-time favorites. Now they have new editions, so these hardcover, like original editions, are actually worth a decent amount of money now because you can't get them anymore. So I'm trying to keep them safe over here, right next to my Harry Potter collection. Further down, sort of hiding behind my reading chair at this point, are a few Stephen King books, and then, a random collection of other books that don't really fit anywhere else. I was on a huge Edward Rutherford kick at one point. His books are kind of long, so I don't really read them as much now, but he had this style where he would take a city and basically go through centuries in that city over a period of time. So they're historical fiction, but he would always pick like maybe 5 different characters to focus on, and then he would follow their family lines through all of these major events that occurred in these cities over time. And they were just such like sweeping sagas about these cities that I love so much. And it was really interesting to see how different characters from different classes and situations went through key moments in each of these cities' periods of history. Obviously, I have some books on the floor because I feel like you wouldn't be a reader without some actual books on the floor. Right now, this is my Zodiac Academy series, so I went on a buying spree and just picked up the entire Zodiac Academy series at one point. This is another one where they're redoing the covers, so I wanted the originals before they were sold out. This is a very insane, like bully romance. It's kind of like a darker Harry Potter. The writing is not amazing, but it is so addicting that I just absolutely love them anyway. It's about 2 twins who find out that they actually have magical powers. They're taken to basically a fae realm and then attend the Zodiac Academy so that they can learn how to control their powers. And then throughout the whole series, like more and more crazy stuff happens, and they get involved in this like massive war for control of the country. It's very entertaining, but the books get a little bit long as you go on, so just be forewarned. But it is a really fun series to get into. And then on my actual like book card catalog nightstand, I have a few books that I need to get to soon. This is one that I already read. Bridesmaid by Chance is coming out in April. It's a Megan Quinn, which I absolutely adore. I have The Goldens from Flatiron, which is a like thriller about a socialite who maybe kind of turns things into a cult. I'm not really sure, but that sounded pretty interesting. And then this is recent book mail that I got. It's called Shield of Sparrows, and it is by Devney Perry, who I've never read before, but it seems like another romantasy book, so I'm excited to learn more about that one and get into it soon. The last bookshelf that I'm going to share today contains two of my most prized collections, as well as this shelf here, which is just a hodgepodge of like colorful books that I thought looked nice together. But up on top, we have my Mina Lima Harry Potter illustrated editions. These books are absolutely gorgeous, and I highly, highly recommend them if you're a Harry Potter fan. Mina Lima put together these illustrated editions, and they not only contain different artwork, they also have some interactive elements, like things that you can pull out from the book or different things that you can interact with the story in different ways. So currently there are 3 books available, the first 3 books in the series, but there's been a little bit of drama because Mina Lima is not going to finish the series. They actually switched to, I don't know if it's a different publisher or illustrator. So I would recommend getting these 3 books while you still can. And then the 4th book, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, is coming out, I think, in October with like the new illustrated version. So I think the style is going to be pretty similar to these, but I don't know exactly what that's going to look like or if it's going to have the same interactive aspects that these do. So this is kind of one of those situations where it's like, get them while you can. And then once the 4th book comes out, I'll probably grab that as well just to see if it's the same quality. But right now, I absolutely love these 3 and how unique they are as a Harry Potter fan. Like I mentioned, this book just kind of has a lot of colorful book covers that I like to put together. I do have my 2 annotated editions of my favorite Jane Austen books. Like I mentioned before, Pride and Prejudice and Emma are my 2 all-time favorites of hers. The annotated editions are really fun because they have a lot of extra historical facts and information that just kind of make the reading experience even more exciting for someone like me who is a huge Jane Austen fan. And then next up is my collection of Throne of Glass series. So this is a similar situation where these book covers are no longer available. They were the original book covers and they have since been replaced with different covers. So these are also like worth a little bit of money for collectors because they are the originals. I love how these actually have pictures of the main character on the side. So I think that's something that's really unique to this collection. Personally, I haven't read the entire series yet. I am stuck on Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. I was doing the reread of these 2, or the buddy read of these 2, where you kind of switch back and forth between the books. And it was just too long, and I got kind of lost and wanted to try something else. But I'm planning to finish the series at some point. And then obviously Kingdom of Ash is the last book, which is going to be an enormous commitment as well, and I'm not really ready for the series to end, so I've been dragging it out. But I love how these books look together, and they're one of my favorite series right now to collect. And then on the next shelf here, I've got a few more of my favorite authors. Louise Penny is the author of this incredible, like, cozy mystery series that starts with still life. It all takes place in this small town in Canada and features an Inspector Gamache, who is an incredible character. The stories are all amazing, and I just kind of haven't finished the series because there's so many of them now, but I really enjoyed the first, like, 7 or 8 that I read. So I highly recommend them if you're looking for a great, cozy mystery series. There's more Jenny Colgan, of course. I'm a huge Catherine Senner fan, so this is one of the arcs of hers that I got a while ago that I just can't give up. Her covers are just so beautiful with all of their flowers, and this is one of my favorite books of hers as well. Six of Crows by Leah Bardugo. That's another series that I want to get into soon because I've heard it's an incredible kind of fantasy series as well. So as you can see, there's just a mix of books here that I am in the middle of, meaning to read, or just ones that I absolutely love and want to keep on my shelves. So that officially wraps up my 2025 bookshelf tour. Thank you for coming along with me as I shared some of my favorite books and spaces that I've created. Let me know in the comments how you organize your own bookshelves, or if you saw any books along the way that you're interested in or you want me to read soon. And I'll see you next time.